Austin, is that time once again.
Oh, is it ever?
It's 40k Fanatics Podcast. I'm Shane, that's Austin, and we're back with another one, and we've got a spicy one today. We're going to talk about things that we think GW made mistakes of the lore, which is a dangerous thing to do. Heresy, some might
GW can
say.
make mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. We're going to discuss it. We're going to see if we can anger places on the internet that might show up in mass to support, us, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But first, we're going to. Oh shoot! I knew I forgot something. I have not gotten our Vox channel stuff, have I? Did I? I don't think I did. Oh no! Oh no! Now see, what a proper show would do is they would stop the recording, and they would go and find the stuff, get the material, and then they'd come back,
Yeah.
right? What I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing, however, is just scrolling down on Spotify where you can listen to us prattle on about various things. And I'm going to hope that Dave and Company has said something, and he has. So we're opening up the Vox channel where we read your comments on the YouTube and the Spotify. And Dave says, on our last pod of rapid fire 40k topics, rapid fire, I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
He couldn't keep up. I don't believe him. I think he kept up fine. We've got 10 5-star reviews on there, by the way. Get on there on
really?
Spotify and review the podcast and give us 5 stars or else. And like and subscribe on the YouTube or wherever you get podcasts given away for free. It was a very short Vox channel, but I think it's okay because in the Bits box today, there we go. In the Bits box today, we're going to talk about what I think, a bit of a hot take here. I think the GW has released the greatest looking army / set of models that they ever have non Ultramarine division, because obviously there's a certain let's call it Palmaris that they possess that nothing is ever gonna really come to,
Yeah.
So we're gonna make that like Bitsbox Part B. Bitsbox Part A, as usual, is what we've done in the hobby. And I played with a metal model. So I got the Great Eagle for the High Elves. And it's all metal. And I had to try to glue the wings on. And I was in there with 2 different types of super glue. And my old school helping hands trying to stick this thing together and prop it up so that it might actually hold. And presently it's upside down with the helping hands holding it just so as the legs of the eagle glue on. And I feel like that the metal model people, everybody knows them. They're like, man, but these things used to be metal back in my day. Those people are not actively hobbying or are remembering fondly some stuff, and they do not recall the struggle and the trials and tribulations that came with all that metal business. That's
I
my
like metal.
theory. Look, I like it fine. I think it's neat, but man, is that tough to work with. The parts just don't fit together,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think. I mean, I guess you just get gap filler and stuff like that would be the move, but I'm hoping that my gobs of super glue that I did smooth out with a toothpick will look fine. I mean, it's a feathered creature. I could not imagine trying to do that on one of those big old vehicles where you want those pen lines to line up perfectly and everything. I mean, what would you just solder it all together and then sand the edges?
Maybe. I mean, you could use gap filler and I don't know, do whatever you have to. It sounds like you're kind of weak. We have these hobbyists from the 80s and 90s out here. They had to walk uphill both ways to the hobby shop to pick up their metal models and haul them all the way home, and have to get out their metal files and their who knows what else to grind down these metal mold lines. And you're down here just complaining about it from your point of privilege of having to put together mostly plastic models.
Oh, I'm soft as grapes. Soft as grapes. I got nothing for it. Um, it just completely flummoxes me. I tell you, the other thing that I think is crazy is when you have like like these combo type kits. I've seen a few of these where it's like a resin part over here and a metal part over there, and you're trying to get those two things to stick together and fit. Whoa, miss me with that.
Yeah. Uh,
So you're an OG tough boy.
I don't know. I'm kind of like those guys that I guess kind of like back to the old ways of doing things. They're like I don't know. I just feel like the metal. I will say is more difficult to put together metal models when there's a bunch of just big chunky parts you're having to glue together. I feel like the finished product is just amazing and it feels great to play with. Feels great to hold. I just feel like it's a much superior material to plastic for the entire presentation of the miniature.
Well, I'll just have to see once I get it done, and perhaps I will join you in the metal model stands. You've been dry brushing all morning, I understand.
I don't know about all morning, but for at least the past hour and a half or so, dry brushing goblins, doing their cloaks, the night goblins. Dry brush is it's just about beat. I had to get it cleaned off, get a lot of the residue off just now before we start recording. But I've been working on these goblin archers, trying to get their cloaks ready. Pretty soon, once I hop off here, I'll probably start doing their skin and everything, base painting them green, and then doing some shading and highlighting on those. But they're pretty cool. I like the night goblins. They're pretty fun to paint and play.
We're moving ever closer to our first old world game. I finished another dozen spearmen,
Yep.
and I'm going to include a picture of them and how they're going on the YouTube video, so you can check that out, or you can get on our Discord. Our Discord is totally free. Can you believe that?
No, I can't.
Have you heard of a content creator's Discord being free to enter?
Not often.
It's unheard of. Uh, and we've got a bits box there where you can share your own bits box and let us know what you think of ours, and we'll let us know what you think of yours. One more thing that I did. So, I mean, the elves are coming along fine. Um,
Hmm.
I said last pod that I don't think that sort of mass army painting is really for me. I'm not enjoying it as much as I enjoy regular painting. Um,
Hmm.
and last night I decided to take a break from the old world and painted a Judge Dredd model. Just a single guy, uh, going full ball sack. And what he is he is a fatty battering ram. So these are the intentionally just hugely obese individuals in Mega City 1 who uh, sometimes get in dust ups with the judges and other factions because they can't find enough good grud. And so
Yeah.
this guy is like he's three guys because he's a fatty battering ram. So is him with some armor on, and then he's got two guys that are pushing him on his belly wheel into something, right? So it's kind of
Hmm.
a three for one thing. But man, I got in there painting that. I started him off with like a deep red color, and then worked his fleshy bits up till he looks very pale, but also with very poor circulation. Everywhere there's pressure on him, I let that red in the shadows kind of show through, and so he looks like a big crazy fat guy. And I had so much
Hmm.
fun painting that, and just really the thing that I dislike about the army painting is that the parts I like about painting are the stretching and the experimentation type stuff. And in the army painting, you're incentivized to avoid those things. There's
Okay.
probably 8 coats of paint on this fatty's face. On
Mm.
any random archer in my old world army, I'm kind of only allowed to touch the face twice, you know,
Yeah.
because you got a dozen of them to do. And so it's almost just the parts that I like least about painting is the whole of army painting, which I'm not saying I'm not gonna stop doing it,
Yeah.
but I think I'm just like my Chaos Space Marines. I'm gonna get to a point where I'm gonna be having a lot more fun once the sort of base of the army is fleshed out and finished, where then I can do one unit at a time and start, putting some greater individual effort into each model.
Mhm.
But that's my 2 cents on that. And I think the fatty looks good. I mean, he was certainly fun to do. Um, those Judge Dredd models. I mean, I'm up to volume 4 of the big old Judge Dredd chunky anthologies. So
Yeah,
I've just been in a Judge Dredd mood. I don't know when I'm going to play the game again, but I don't know. Maybe I'll give you some money to come over and play it with me.
maybe.
That's about where we're at for you know bootstrapping one's favorite game. Do you
Yeah.
have anything else for the Bits box, sir?
Uh, I don't think so.
Well, then let's get on to what I believe to be the strongest army that GW's ever produced. So
Okay.
we had the Adepticon reveals happen, and we're going to kind of scroll down this one particular article on Warcom, which is the uh, Old World Armies of Grand Cathay. This is an entirely new army for the Old World, and you know a little bit more about the lore of this. Like, this is a thing that's existed for a long time, right? But was just not
So,
represented on the tabletop.
so what it was Grand Cathay was always kind of like in the lore, but it was always something far away that they referenced. Like, oh, way on the other side of the old world continent, there's Grand Cathay, which is basically fantasy China. And there were kind of elements that bled into the old world. Kind of think about how China related to like medieval Europe.
Yeah.
They had a maybe like a vague idea, but there wasn't very much going on besides, I guess, uh, games of telephone trade, where eventually things could maybe come over trading goods. Uh, but that's kind of where they were. They were referenced, but never really a thing on the tabletop until Total War 3 came out, and they expanded the world of the game to go eastward towards Grand Cathay, and now uh, it seems that a partnership with the people at Total War and Games Workshop, they work together to flesh this region and civilization out. With Games Workshop actually making rules for all the units and coming up with units they can put into the game. And now that they've been in the game, now they've been kind of rejigged back into the tabletop to create a tabletop army for them.
They're
And now they've got the
unbelievable.
models.
They're
Yeah,
so good.
after that.
So we're just going to scroll down. Do you have this pulled up yourself?
Yeah,
So the battalion box, you get a ton of stuff. You get 2 different types of foot troops. You get 2 cannon things. You get 2 units of cavalry. Now all that's cool, but then when we scroll down, we get to like these Jade Warriors and stuff, and we get the close-ups. And this is the reason I am so high on this is because it's such a lovely marrying of the old world hand sculpted um sort of heroic scale aesthetic with modern, quite obviously computer generated modeling techniques.
yeah.
And I mean, as much shtick as people give Games Workshop for prices and, oh, look, it's another Space Marine lieutenant, there's nobody better at this stuff. And man, do these guys look incredible. They got big
Yeah,
O
there's so much
hands.
detail.
There's so much detail, and yet I don't feel like you would have to just kill yourself to paint this. You clearly can if you want to. But I mean, this is just a unit of little dudes. And then you come down here to the cavalry, and they're incredible. It looks like, what do we have? 2 poses of horse, but they've got all this armor on them. They look like they're in motion. It's excellent. And then I'm down to the cannon guys. Again, you've got this big O ogre dude, and then you've got your sort of cannon crew, giant dragon mouth to paint. And of course, this is another example of when the heavy metal team get anything that's not a space marine, it's like the rules just go out the window.
Yeah,
They just they go so hard. I mean, is that the first cannon, is that a non-metallic metal possibly? Because that highlight
or
goes all the way to white.
I'm not. I don't think it is. I don't think that's non-metallic.
It's good. It's so good. But every single model in this range looks like it's moving around, right in the middle of doing something. The second cannon, this guy carrying the guy carrying the missile for the fire rain rocket battery,
Yeah,
like he is absolutely walking across the battlefield. It's just incredible. And then you get to this whatever the heck a longma is, not a dragon, but
it's
something.
a Chinese cross between a horse and a dragon.
It's incredible. Big O tactical rock, big O rectangular base, double flowing cape on the lady, guy, person. Wow. And then it just keeps going. So they talked about they talked about world eaters, Grey Knights. They talked about Death Guard, and some of that stuff literally got one model. The Death Guard, all they revealed at Adepticon was the new character that we've already seen at whatever the last convention was, right?
Yeah.
But Grand Cathay out here with the entire model range just dumped on your head. It's incredible.
Hmm.
These gate masters of the celestial gates, and apparently these giant dragon things on the banners are just huge decals,
Yeah.
big O transfers. I think that's incredible. These guys look amazing. And then they just keep stunting. The Sky Lantern, man. Have you ever seen anything like this?
But it is just crazy. Even inside the basket, there's so much stuff going on.
It's so tall. And I mean, listen, Golden Demon happened, and we don't have time to talk about Golden Demon today, but it was something to behold, as it always is. I promise you that one of these Sky Lanterns will be a Golden Demon recipient next year or at the next possible opportunity, because people are going to get inside of this thing, or at least they're going to paint this what do we even call it? This lantern as though
Airballoon.
there's a light source inside, and it's going to be
Yeah.
ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah, I can just see this thing put up on like a big diorama base, have it kind of like sideline a little bit, like it's blowing in the wind, have it like looking like it's dropping bombs on like some Chaos Warrior or something, little explosion effects going on.
Well, you know what someone's going to do. They're going to paint it as though it's doing a night bombing raid.
Oh yeah,
And so the lantern itself will illuminate the basket, and then down on the ground there'll be bombs that are illuminating up, and it'll just be ridiculous, because that's what the Golden Demon folks do. I mean, like you say, we've got close-up shots, and it just goes on and on and on. It's unbelievable. There's a lady dropping a hand bomb with a with a what is it, a punk? Is that what we call that in her teeth?
oh, I don't know, lighting cues.
Yeah. And then they're not done. The Cathayan Sentinels. These things appeared to be, in the reveal, something like 10, 12, 13 inches tall.
Possibly they're massive.
Towering. They make your metal giant dude. I mean, you think he comes up to their waist, Steven?
No, even the like the plastic giant, it looks like he might come up to maybe their shoulders. They're just so massive.
They're incredible. And the they've got different data sheets or whatever you call them in Old World for the different materials they're made out of, but the terracotta one, the brown one that they showed a lot in the preview or the reveal video, just
Mhm.
incredible. It's got all this little etched detail all over it. I mean, that is going to take dry brushing so well. And
Yeah,
then, and then of course, we get the Arcane Journal, and then finally, they weren't done.
we've
Mao
got a named
Ying,
character.
the Storm Dragon. So she's a floating lady, which is unbelievable, who then turns into this dragon. And this dragon, I mean, the paint job is unbelievable, but also just the dynamicism in the pose. Get in the
Just
comments and let
wild.
me know. I submit to you that this is pound for pound, strongest model range GW has ever produced.
Yeah, very amazing in the quality they've done with this.
It is incredible. I love it. Do you have any comments, concerns, things to say about the Grand Cathay Army? Is
So
it?
what I found funny is first reveal they did for Adepticon was Wood Elves and Beastmen for Old World. And those are our two capstone armies for completing the core rulebook.
Yeah.
And so they come out with those, and everyone's like, "Oh wow, those are cool! Can't wait to get my Wood Elves or Beastmen." Everyone's like, "Man, great job, Games Workshop." Then immediately after that, they drop Grand Cathay on us. Wood Elves and Beastmen just like completely sidelined at this point. No one cares about them. Everyone just cares about Grand Cathay now.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they care about it because of just how good they look.
Yeah.
Also,
It's
I want to touch on the yeah.
go ahead. I was gonna echo that. I can't remember a single thing about the Beastmen right now because they started talking Grand Cathay, and from the first
Yeah,
look at a random foot soldier, I'm like, oh, what is this?
yeah. I wanted to touch on the Chaos Space Marines for a second and just say how crazy it is that this is. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the year of chaos, right?
Yeah, it is.
And all we have is a new World Eater character who is one of the 8 bound, and I absolutely do not care about the 8 bound. They do nothing for me aesthetically. I don't like that look at all.
So
Uh,
yeah, I get that because I'm the same. However, if I was the type that was into the whole World Eater's whole shtick, then that dude slash the 8 bound are absolutely like give me more, you know.
no.
But go
Then
ahead.
the Death Guard character, like you said, we've already seen him before.
That was
So
crazy.
seeing them make a big deal about him, I'm like, you guys already showed him off. What are you talking about? And then Thousand Suns, they get let's see, robots. Yeah, that's what you get, robots,
Yeah, that was
which
such
is
a
wild.
that was crazy.
Yeah.
I put in the local group chat. I said, Thousand Sun Wraith Lords.
So you know what these are? These are if you wanted to create a sort of connection to Warhammer Fantasy with Thousand Suns being the Egyptian kind of action. These are similar to the Ushanti constructs that the Tomb Kings have,
I see.
which are sort of like automaton statues used to guard tombs.
I mean,
That's kind of like a cross connection.
they're neat. I just I'm really
I
surprised
just
by a few things. One, I mean, this is a big one. Okay, Grey Knights are coming. They showed them off, except they didn't show them off. What they showed off
no,
was Firstborn. So, I mean, the homie Jordan must be feeling good because he was of two minds about whether to get new um, Primaris scale Grey Knights or possibly buy people's firstborn that they then dump because of the new ones, right? Assuming there
yeah.
was going to be new ones, and now, well, there's not going to be any new ones. So I guess he's good.
Yeah, you know, when I saw the Grey Knights release, the first thing I thought was, "Congratulations, Grey Knights! You don't have to buy a new army.
Yeah, you don't have to buy a new army. You do look funny
Another
though.
edition of little guys." Yeah,
Very little guys. I couldn't believe it. I just thought, my God, just scale them up directly, if nothing else. You know, I mean. Anyway, that's a whole pod for another day, though. We got to get to our main topic. Close that bits box. That was a good bits box today.
sure.
Um, our main topic. It's it's a top three list, and you know how I love a top three list. It's my
Mhm.
favorite thing to do. I've got two OLIs, which is
I
outside
have just
looking
top
in.
three.
Okay.
Yeah,
Outside looking in means is it's not number 4 and 5. All right. Common misconception is people think, oh, the OLI is number 4, number 5. That's not what it means. The OLI can be there for any kind of reason. If I was
yeah.
a top 5 list, I might pick any number of different things. It's just stuff that I think is close and that I'd like to mention. But what I'm doing here is I woke up and chose violence. And
Okay.
these are what I believe to be the top three lore mistakes that GW themselves have perpetrated upon the universe.
Mm.
They're gonna be real lore heads that are upset of our opinions of this. But since I've got OLIs, I'm gonna tell you first. My number one lore mistake, outside looking in, is the creation of Slanesh.
Okay.
I feel like it's unnecessary. I think that I think that Nurgle covered a whole lot of ground that Slanesh does, and I think that
Like what?
just the sort of excess of things, right? Because
I don't think so.
well, and also I think that Slanesh creates a little bit of a dicey corner to paint themselves into, which is that what they really want is the sort of sexy stuff, but ultimately they're trying to sell to 10-year-olds, so you can only go so far with that. This is not, oh gosh, what's the Trench Crusade, right? It's like, well, we want to
Hmm.
be grimdark, but not quite that far. That it's all just, you know, pornography and whatnot in the Slanesh Codex. Uh,
I don't know. I'm about to about to throw hands trying to figure out what you mean by Nurgle kind of overstepping into Slanesh.
I feel like that the whole idea of excess slash gluttony, they're almost synonyms.
No, you're looking at it wrong because the Nurgle whole thing is entropy and decay, and a lot of the, I guess, bigness you see with Nurgle, a lot of the big bone boys, that ends up being more along the lines of bloated bodies and disease, while Slanesh's big bone boys comes about from just eating lots of food because you can't stop eating lots of food because it's so good, and you have to keep eating the food to feel the sensation of it. It's kind of a different thing.
Well, I suppose, but it's my list.
I
Uh,
know, and it's I'm about to flip this table. What's your next one?
my next OLI is the Tau. I thought that was a mistake.
Okay.
No argument. Yeah, you're number three, sir.
Okay, my number three is. I want to touch on Tau before I get to my top. What do you not like about the Tau?
Well, honestly, back when Casey was on the pod, he's not the biggest fan of the Tau either. Just, I mean, I got a million and one reasons why I'm not into the Tau, but if you're a longtime listener, it's become a bit of a bit where if the Tau get mentioned in a negative light, we just sort of keep it moving. And you did it unintentionally, just like, okay, yeah. My
I
my
said
th-
okay, like continue.
well, my thing about the Tau is one, I'm anti-communist all the time. The greater
They're not
good,
communist.
the greater good means nothing to me. Uh, they're little fishmen. They're I feel
They're not
like
fishmen. You've made
whatever.
two errors in lore.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna make is heirs of lore. That's the list. Yeah, yeah. Um, they're I don't feel like they fit. I feel like that they want to be Gundam half the time. And I mean, I like Gundam as much as the next guy, but the whole crisis suit thing is I don't know. It doesn't fit for me. They've got a
I will agree. I don't.
they've got a samurai aesthetic, but not quite. I feel like that we could get better samurai if the White Scars dude had a proper army.
So real quick with Tau, I want to hit on a couple things rapid fire. Okay. First off, uh, they're not fish people. They're more mammalian. They have things like hooves and stuff going on with them. Uh, Second all, I agree with you on the suits. I don't really care for the suits. What I wish they would do was lean more heavy into the foot troops and the like hover vehicles and transports. And the hammerheads. That's what I like. If I play Tau, that's more what I would go into. But they've kind of suited themselves up so much with all these releases that you have to play suits. It seems
Yeah.
like. And then I want to hit on real quick that Tau aren't communists. What it really kind of hints at in the way they're shown in the lore is that they're more similar to Imperial Japan in World War II with their spheres of co-prosperity, to where you've got like this empire, the Tau Empire, and then they're bringing in all these little countries or all these little planets and civilizations into their big sphere of co-prosperity, and towards like, hey, you can come join our empire, and we'll kind of take you in, and we'll civilize you, kind of, and show you the greater good of it all. But in reality, we're kind of just doing like colonialism and everything.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all you Kroot are
Yeah,
cannon fodder. Get out there in front of these
and
crisis suits.
and there's hints of things in there that are definitely propaganda. Things like the Vespid mind control, possible human sterilization, and things like that. There's a bit of hints at that things aren't as great or good as you would imagine. But I just wanted to hit on those things before we move on from Tau.
Very good. I like this engagement I'm getting out of you guys. See, you see, the comments are going to be so angry. It's going to be good. You're number 3, sir.
My number three is, I'm gonna approach this sensitively, in that I feel like
One of us has to.
the way the way female custodies were implemented into the lore recently
Hmm.
was a mistake, insofar as they should have originally made them female. They should have originally, when they came out in 8th edition with their first codex, they should have already established that there were female custodies.
All right. Well, let me hit my number 3 because my number 3 is right on with your number 3. My number 3 is some of the sons should have been daughters.
Well, let me finish mine up first, because mine's coming at it from a different perspective with
Sure.
this. My thinking with the female custodies is that, because we had two editions where it was assumed there were only male custodies, even though in the lore that was provided, there wasn't technically anything saying that there were only male custodies. Bit of wording was a bit ambiguous, but and then the author, it was the author of the codex, said he intended for there to be female custodies in the ranks, but Games Workshop pushed back on it because they didn't have a model that was female sold at the time. They didn't have a model you could point to that was definitely female. They axed the whole plan of having any female inclusion with it because they couldn't sell a female model, and they want the lore, and they want most of the marketing to show exactly what they sell. So that's why they weren't in the first and second codex. Uh, and because it seems like now that they have a female custodies in a show, and it seems as though they are retroactively saying no, there's always been female custodies, and like gaslighting everyone, unintentionally, because like I said, the intention there was that there could have been custodies that were female, but now, because it hadn't been mentioned for two editions, it seems like they're gaslighting their player base, and it's causing a lot of anger over that. And I feel like it could have been handled a lot better from the get go if they would have just gone ahead and had them.
Yeah.
So that's my whole lore mistake with that.
Yeah. I think there should probably be 3 or 4 female Primarchs. So that's how far I go with it. Because look, I understand the idea that Transformer RC, featured in the 1986 movie quite popularly, did not even get a toy until something like the mid 90s. All right. I get that it's difficult to sell girl stuff to little boys. All right. At the same time, it's GW up until very, very recently has had a whole lot of Augusta National Golf Club, i.e., the Masters, if you guys are unfamiliar. They have been like, well, no, it's a men's only club up until I want to say 2003. I would have to check, but that was when the CEO of IBM was a woman, and IBM, one of the master sponsors for decades, have always been had membership and been a sponsor of the tournament. And so they had to turn around and say, whew, I suppose we can let some women in here. And my point is, if all you're ever going to have is billionaire world leaders as your membership, then like you could have said, yeah, we'll take women. And you could just be like, not that there's ever going to be a billionaire woman, and then they would have been wrong. But at the same time, once they were shown to be that person existed, they're like, oh yeah, come on, right? Similarly, not all the Primarchs have got a model or any representation in the game. Therefore, they could have had these female, princess Primarchs that they didn't have to do anything with until the world and the market, etc., caught up. Because what we've got recently is people being very curmudgeonly about, oh, I don't want no female space marines because that's not how it used to be. It's like, well, what difference does it make? You weren't going to get them anyway, but there's people that would have liked them now, if not then, and it would hurt nothing. So that's my number 3. Can you believe I've got 2 better than that?
Pretty strong one coming out.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the introduction of the Primaris Marines.
Ooh. Okay.
Did I step on any toes?
Oh, you've stepped on one of my list.
Okay, we can.
No, go
we can
ahead.
double this up. So the problem that it seems like with the Primaris Marines is that it opened up a massive can of worms for a lot of people.
I mean, where do we even start? Listen, I'll just spoil it. It's my number 1. Primaris is my number 1. It's the silliest
Okay.
thing that I've ever heard of. It's super dangerous, right? But not a single character who's been Primarisized has fallen ill of it, right?
Yeah.
Not a named chaplain or anybody anywhere has had any problem in the lore or anything, and yet it's supposed to be this, the Rubicon Primaris, right? It's
Yeah.
totally ridiculous. It's, you know what? I mean, you know what? Here, go ahead and say what you want to say about Primaris, and then I've got a take on it.
Okay. So the thing with the Primaris Marines were Games Workshop were looking to make true scale Marines back, I want to say 2010 or so. Because Games Workshop does these things like they have long term plans. Things that are coming out now were in the works like 5 years ago.
Sure.
Uh, so at the time before Primaris first released at the end of 7th edition going into 8th, they were looking to make new true scale Marines. But their marketing team was afraid that people were playing with 2 different scales of Marines, it would look weird from a marketing perspective. And also trying to just square this whole scale discrepancy, having units with little guy having, like, say you have a tactical squad and like 4 of your guys are little and the other are big. They were trying to figure out, well, what do we do about that? Because in their perfect world, you can't have that discrepancy. So they decided to make a lore reason to why there were 2 scales of Marines in the game. And then that ballooned into this whole Primaris situation where now it was bigger than of just your army just being ruined, because like, well, now I've got Firstborn and Primaris.
Yeah.
I've got 30 years of Marines released now and then the other ones, and it was causing major bloat in the game. I'm kind of blending this more into the game now.
Yeah, so and here's the thing. The lore problem it created, and in fact, the entire problem was never a problem. If they had just come out and said, new Marines, we've released new Marines, here they are, everybody would have just slowly but surely ended up with new big Marines. Unless you didn't want them, in which case you could still be playing your little ones. But I have not personally seen anyone who's got just a whole pile of Firstborn Marines because the FOMO, or it's not even FOMO, just just the damn those are cool effect of seeing the new ones makes you go get the new ones, because this whole entire hobby is about buying stuff and building models and painting models. So it's like there was always going to be a relatively short period that all of it was going to recycle, and everybody that could get the big new Marines was going to end up with the big new Marines. They were still buying the firstborn kits brand new up until the day that Primaris came out. So it's like it was a problem that was never a problem, and I just can't believe anybody ever cooked up this issue. And then to solve the issue, they come up with this lore idea. And this is the thing. Somewhere the tail gets wagging the dog with 40k lore. And just like our discussion about female custodes or the non-existence of female primarchs, they've got all this, that, and the other lore reason for X, Y, and Z, when the lore is certainly cool, and I understand you got to sell books, and that kind of thing is neat, and it reinforces the sort of fantasy of this entire thing. Like, I'm not against the lore. I love the lore. The lore is fine. However, sometimes they create lore problems or say that there's lore problems that make real problems that don't have to exist. Because, to say the quiet part out loud, I'm going to whisper because I like to whisper my secrets. The lore's not real. They can write whatever they want. What do you think of
But
that?
Shane, I think it's real.
Well, even if it is real, you better get a time machine and go find out what year 41,000 looks like. Um, what's your number one, sir? So we what?
Oh,
Or
my
oh, wait,
number.
wait, wait. We got to cover my number
We're on
two.
your. Yeah, you're number two.
Okay, all right.
Spicy take.
I've chose violence today. I made this list quite a while ago, so I guess I chose violence many days. My number two is all those lily white Primarchs.
Yeah.
You are not going to get me out here riding for any DEI initiatives. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. However, a little bit of racial diversity, I think, is good, especially when some decisions were made that are that did not look great circa when they got made initially. Okay, Magnus the Red, especially the 30k version of Magnus the Red, with his comically red skin and his feathered headdress, that is not a cool look. Now, I can see how I totally can see how we got there, right? If you are I'm just creating a straw man, okay? I'm pulling some stuff out of my butt. If you are a 40-year-old Englishman from in the 80s or even the 90s, that means you were born in 60 some odd, right? Does that math work? No. It means you were born in 50 something. I can understand how red man is red as Native American stereotype is probably not that out of bounds to you, because how would you know? The internet wasn't a thing. People weren't so up in arms about anything, to be honest, and maybe that was better or worse or whatever. But it's just one pasty white guy after another, and then half the time we make them bald, and I'm like, man, we just got a pile of skinheads as our quote heroes of this thing. Is wild to me. Your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna push back on Magnus the Red because I don't see what you're even talking about with this.
You don't see how that dude is a cigar store Indian?
I see a man with reddish skin, with possibly his hair wearing ancient Egyptian iconography. I do not see anything Native American with his designs.
I showed it to my Native American wife, and she was like, "Oh no." She had no idea what he was. She said, "Oh no, Jagatai Khan, what's he doing? Come on."
He's riding motorcycles.
Yeah, I suppose he is.
I don't know. I just don't see. I guess the issue with some of these.
I just would it kill him to have a black guy
They've got Vulcan.
who is not even of any sort of like he's that way from like radiation poisoning, isn't he?
It's just look. You're getting me into marine lore territory, and I'm
I know.
not the best
I know.
marine lore territory, especially salamanders who kind of haven't been getting a lot of, I guess, exposure in the wider 40k environment. Because
I I
hold on a second. When I said Vulcan, I was about to follow that up with, was he the Primarch or the planet?
oh, I think we did it again, didn't we?
I think we're right. Vulcan is the Primarch, and they're from whatever planet they're from.
I thought they were from Vulcan. No,
No,
no, the
because
Vulcans are from Vulcan. That's how we're gonna have to
yes,
remember
the
this for
Vulcans
the
are
rest of
from
our life.
Vulcan.
I think they've got a way out. They have those 2 blank spaces in the Primarch stuff, which are for build your own Primarch. But I think that they should probably fill those in with a couple of with a couple of women. I think it'd be fun, and I think it'd give a not insignificant chunk of the the body of our hobby uh, somebody to be like, yeah, that one's mine, and that would be cool. It's never bad to have more people interested in playing and more women. I don't know if all you dudes have noticed, but you go into the friendly local game store and it's a lot of us.
Yeah.
But that's my list. My number one, of course, Primaris. Oh, we haven't got to your number one, have we?
Oh,
Round
my
us out,
number
sir.
one, rounding us out, is my number one, moving the plot forward.
Moving the plot forward. What do you mean moving the plot forward?
I mean, Games Workshop at the end of 7th edition, going into 8th edition, after 30 years of nothing going on, nothing advancing the lore of the plot of the game, they decided to pick up the DVD play remote and press play.
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, this is your axe grinding against the return of the various Primarchs.
It's that, and it's just, I feel like 40k works better when it is a setting, and it's like, here's the setting, and then we can take a little magnifying glass and kind of look at different parts of the galaxy or different eras of the 40k timeline and go, okay, let's explore this little section. Let's explore that section. We kind of have these little tiny vignettes of the grim dark 40k future.
Where there's only
But
war.
yeah,
And
now
and your big superheroes don't show up to every little skirmish all over the
yeah,
galaxy always.
yeah. And now that we have the DVD playing and the plot's actually moving forward, I feel like it's opened another can of worms, kind of related into the Primaris can of worms, into where it's kind of created a situation where you've always got to have bigger things happening. New, uh, we need new Primarchs every edition because Ultramarines got their Primarch, so now Dark Angels have to get theirs. Now someone else has got to get their cake and have it because it's someone else's birthday. We we're in that situation where all the Marines have to have their cake on someone else's birthday, and now uh, I feel like it's also going into sort of the what's it called, live service games kind of thing with the tabletop, to where since we have an advancing plot and things constantly happening each edition, it feels like they're having to introduce things with like, it kind of goes into the competitive aspect of it. They're having to like
Yeah.
really introduce new things into the game constantly
Yeah,
rather than just letting it kind of like simmer and cook.
those 2 Emperor's Children battle line units are really good right now. Um
Yeah,
I
but
think I'm of 2 minds of it because I see what you're
yeah,
saying, how it was neat when it was smaller and a little less specified, I suppose. However, um, I think that it's probably best for the health of the whole game that some of these superheroes, i.e., the Primarchs and various named characters, Dante and all those, and Lieutenant Titus, all them, I think it is good that they become Iron Man, Batman, etc. Because there's something to that being easier to sell, and the stakes being easier to sell, and that making the whole thing seem more exciting, possibly to like a self-destructive point, because like you say, it becomes this arms race of things. But I don't. I think you can still have both because um, my Chaos Lord in the Crusade we're running, I have not referred to him as a Chaos Lord until this moment in the last 2 months because he's Lord Henry attempting to eke out his first victory in the Nachman Gauntlet. Like, you can still have it. And, I play the Marvel Crisis Protocol game, and you've got all manner of movie star, hero, and galactic level threat in there. But then I like to play the X-Men, who are very much more boots on the ground type folks.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. My question about is it a mistake moving the plot forward is at what point does the calendar physically roll over, right? Because all this stuff, we're told in the lore takes place over so long, right?
Yeah.
The call comes in that the Tyranids are eating a planet, and it's 100 years until some space marines show up to stop that ball of Tyranid biomass at that point, right? Oh yeah, everybody's dead. Uh, at some point, are we going to be playing Warhammer 40k? Does that
Yeah.
sound super lame?
I don't know. When they started moving the plot forward, there's actually a little plot element in, I think it was the novel with Girly Man, where it was revealed that they weren't sure what year it was because there had been so much Scrabble nonsense in keeping track of the years. So
Let
I guess in the end, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, honestly, that sounds good because it would be super duper lame if all of a sudden GW was like, "All right, guys, we're not doing 11th edition. We're doing Warhammer 60k, and it's all extra sci-fi. Like, I mean, I don't know what that aesthetic would even look like, but less knights in armor, which is what we have, and more um, Blade Runner. I would be out on that. I'm like, I would get that as far away from me as it can possibly go.
Also, it's a little sad that we lost some characters to old age with advancing the plot.
Yeah, all except Dante. Apparently, he will just continue to get older. But
Yark,
but
yeah,
it's a good thing that he survived his Primaris surgery or whatever it was. Would have been a
yeah.
shame to lose that old guy, what with him being so decrepit. But, it's very dangerous. He was very lucky.
Hmm.
Anyway, get in the comments. I'm sure you guys will have a lot to say. Give us your top 3 things that you don't like about 40k lore. And we will see you next time. As always, don't forget to
Be fanatical.